inside the last 200 yards. And first lieutenant, here comes Bumsworth, the Gold Cup winner, to cut them down.
Hello and welcome along to the Champ.ie Christmas podcast special. As promised, the lads have delivered. We're here in Leopardstown, County Meath, and we're joined by all the regulars. Mr. Ronan Bloom is back with us from the Irish Field.
Yeah, good to be here. What more can you ask for? A load of wine, lovely little fire, talking about Christmas is great.
Just down the road from me as well, of course. Short journey from Navan.
Yeah, short journey from Navan, yeah. So all ready to roll.
We're joined by Mr. Thomas Kyle, trainer from Ballerstown, County Meath.
Hi Barry, good to be here.
Thomas is keeping an eye on the fire as well. And speaking of Christmas and Jesus Christ himself, the Jesus Christ of the tipping world, Mr. Colin Finlay. Would you describe yourself now more as a Jesus Christ or Moses type of figure when it comes to tipping? Getting a 137 rated hurdler up to win the fight in fifth, Colin Finlay.
Well, the thing is actually, because I haven't actually been able to feature on the podcast since I've tipped that up, so I feel like there's a massive time lag between me tipping it. So yeah, get in there, you daisy. But no, it was good because I actually didn't get to see the race that day. But I had you ringing me on the phone, going, "He's up," and I was like, "Great, it was not mad."
Strange sort of race it was, but we'll be looking for more miracles this Christmas, Colin Finlay. But listen, we'll set the scene, lads. Christmas memories, Christmas racing. Colin, I'll come to you first. Earliest memories of Christmas racing, and is there one that sticks out?
I was going through my head earlier on there trying to think of what one in particular stood out. And I landed on Archibald in the Christmas hurdle, which I think was in 2008. Navan trained horse, no meat. Ron, would that be in your early memories of horse racing? Do you remember Archibald?
Yeah, 100%, yeah.
I remember that because I watched that race in the betting shop there in Joplin, and it was a typical Carberry riding style. Quite as a mouse in the back. He gave Rooster
Booster miles ahead.
About 25 lengths, and the customers around the shop were just abusing poor old Paul Carberry for the whole way through the race. Thought he made an absolute hand of this. And of course he just reeled him in beautifully and actually kind of won quite comfortably in the end. But it was a spectacular display of Carberry of kind of pace assessment, not panicking, ice cold, and just delivering Archibald, who, as we all remember, was a very peculiar horse, and he had to be delivered at the right moment at the right time, because if he wasn't, he gives up from the front. But that was like one of my standout Christmas memories. Elsewhere, I'm sure you might mention as well, Q Card catching up on Vautour. I actually watched that race the other night there, and the one thing I'd say to anybody actually watching this podcast, go back on YouTube there and watch Q Card win that King George, and actually turn off the screen and just listen to the sound. The roars off the Kempton grandstands that day, it was phenomenal. There was first of all the roar for Don Cossack.
It was more of a groan than a roar.
Well, there was a groan for Don Cossack, but then there was incredible roars just in the closing finish. It was such an exciting finish to an incredible race.
Probably the best King George that I can remember anyway, that's for sure. Ronan, sticks out for you?
When you asked, I had a quick look as well. Flower the Pearl, I remember watching that when I was very young.
Yeah.
And Adrian Maguire, that was a great race. I think he beat Bacchanal. And he was an outsider that day. He was coming towards the end. But one personal one, I often go, St. Stephen's Day, I go to my uncle's pub in Trim. Lenahans, he probably...
Lenahans, yeah. The rooster hangs out there, yeah. He was later as mentioned, go on.
Yeah. And back to horse, a mare down in Limerick, in a mare's handicap hurdle one time, one of my biggest wins, called Melbourne Lady. She went off and from cruise to the last. Looked like she was going to win easy. Came off the rail, I think Matthew Bowes was riding it, and this thing just smashed up the inside, neck and neck finish, and he just got up. And I think all my cousins were over from Australia, and they backed it obviously as well because it's Melbourne Lady. So yeah, biggest ever win, and when you're in the pub and you had a few pints.
Must check that on the race.
It's worth watching it. Yeah, it's worth watching it. I get excited. I often watch it whenever I feel a bit down, and I often go back and watch it.
That was the Christmas memories. What about Thomas Kyle?
Just when you think of Leopardstown, I suppose Hurricane Fly just comes to remember the race day, Bet R. Connor there as well, and then just on a personal note as well, Forever Gold win the Pertemps a couple of years ago was pretty amazing.
Was that the Pertemps qualifier?
It was, yeah. It was the year that Presenting Percy won the race in Cheltenham. He won the qualifying in Leopardstown that night. Chris Timmins rode him.
That Forever Goal was well back there, because I don't want to say who it was, but a fat bet landed in our betting shop in the shop that day, and it might have been a Christmas highlight for you, but that was a painful thing. I think you might have been 25 to 1 or so, and ended up at 7 to 1 or 52. Do you go off it?
Yeah, he was well backed. He was a very good horse for us, and
still around, of course. The Collie Christmas parties tonight, I believe, Thomas.
Yeah.
I suppose talking about Christmas memories, three 3 heartbreaks for myself.
Women or horses now?
We'll come to the women. We'll come to the women now in a minute, Thomas. But I suppose cue card. What was the year? Actually, I had it documented here. 13 cue card. Hunted down by Conti. That was in his earlier years. Was a big cue card fan in his early days. Kind of gave up on him a little bit. Fleming Star, one of Desi's best commentaries, was on him as well. Same sort of fashion. Turned the bend, absolutely cruising through Fleming Star. It would have been a great story, of course, for the small trainer. Vautour as well, hunted down by cue card. As I said, went on. We never would have known what Vautour would have went on to over 3 miles. I believed he would have met up into a Gold Cup horse. Plenty would have agreed with me. I don't know what your thoughts on that is, but we'll stop with it.
They should have tried. They never tried.
Yeah, it was probably a big regret, I'd say, in the end that William didn't send it. But he's got his Gold Cup win last year, of course, on Albion Full. But listen, let's start previewing the action for Christmas. We'll start with the King George, the feature. Surname 177. I suppose, is he vulnerable to more of a staying type here? First of all, actually, the 3 guys shot me down when putting Surname up against Altio. I must remind you of that. But steps up to 3 miles here for the first time, going back, I suppose, right-handed. Is going right-handed a big issue, and can you see running more of a stare?
With Surname?
Surname, yeah.
Well, yeah, I think he needs to go right-handed, doesn't he? So, yeah, I think the small issue is coming away from Ascot, because all his last 3 runs have come over the same course and distance at Ascot. And how important is Ascot to him, you know? I think it could be important to him. He's also coming up to 3 miles as well, so I think that's the question. I just don't think everyone's making a deal of it, saying, oh, Harry Cobden was always going to pick Surname. It was a clear-cut decision. I'm not sure it was that of a clear-cut decision. Clanders Obo, I thought, ran really well at Down Royal. Like, Nichols horses are all needing a run at the time. And he jumped well, and Road to Respect is a good horse around Down Royal. He's top class around there. Look, there's lads here, you lads are bigger fans of Lost in Translation than me, but you heard what I said on the podcast today. Honestly, I was all over Bristol the Mai. I just think around Haydock he's proper grade 1 horse, you know, top class.
Because you said he should have been 6-4 if he'd have beaten him, and he did.
That is probably a bit over the top reaction. But at the same time, yeah. I do. That's what I'm getting at. I just think that it was a huge performance from him at such an early stage of his career to go and turn over Bristol the Mai. And I think he probably should be clear favourite here. Look, all the prices are probably gone at this stage.
13 to 8 each of 2 now.
Yeah, it's quite tight, the betting now, so I'm not sure if there's any value left in the market. But if you're pushing me for a selection, I go with Lost in Translation.
Yeah, so speaking of Lost in Translation, we have one big fan beside me here, Thomas Kyle, who had a relation to Lost in Translation in the Yard last year. Thoughts on him? I thought he'd done a lot right now, especially going up in trip at entry last year, and obviously followed on this year.
Yeah, as we said, I followed him from an early stage when we had the mare at home. She's actually gone back. She's gone breeding now. He's actually putting her in foal this year, coming to Flemsford, so he'll have a 3-part brother to it. So, yeah, look, I followed him all the way. I thought the last day, just Puppy Power was unbelievable. It was one of the best rides, and when we were talking about this a month ago, I was thinking, with all these horses that were named, I was thinking the King George could have 12, 13, 14 runners. And was he going to be settled? And then the last day, when it was a small runner affair and he got to sit out, I'd imagine he's going to do something fairly similar with Surname. Bowls away, mostly. Will he bowl away over?
Just hunt away out.
But when Surname over the trip, will he jump off and do that? I think it's going to be one. It's going to be a great race. But I do think Lost in Translation. He's uncomplicated, but so is Surname. But we know he's going to stay 3 mile. I think even the flat track. The one doubt in my mind for Cheltenham is the extra 2 furlongs. But I think this is his ultimate flat track 3 mile. This is more his ball game, I think, than maybe Cheltenham down the line. Yeah, it's going to be a great race, and I do slightly fancy him to win.
I'd be all over Lost in Translation, because I think Colin agrees with me. I think he proved, we said it in the aftermath as well, just on the roundup, he proved his versatility. In that, as Thomas was saying, like he went from the front to the entry, or was ridden more prominently, but he just proved, I suppose, he was able to sit in. His jumping at Carlisle early in the season was very exuberant over his face. You kind of wonder, should he be going back in trip rather than than forward.
But I'd say that was a fresh horse though as well.
Yeah,
you know.
his jumping is excellent, but I could just see him, I suppose, between two. That is a long run between the second last and the last at Kempton, and I would see him, I suppose, coming there and Surname coming under pressure. Colin?
Yeah, look, it's hard to poke holes in Lost in Translation because, and I said in the podcast after that weekend, I think we did the Finley's Roundup, that was the Bristol de Mai of Haydock. He ran his race, like we talk about Surname at Ascot, the other kind of hometown horse in his hometown track is Bristol de Mai, and he put it all on the line that day, and Lost in Translation was still able to reel him in when so many horses in previous years were unable to do so. Surname could very easily fulfill the exact same role in this race. Lead him from the front, give him an easy lead, not an easy lead in the race, but lead him into the race, a little benchmark for him to shoot at, and I'm expecting maybe between the second last and the last for Lost in Translation's proven stamina to just kick in and pull ahead. It could be very similar now to, and painful memories for you, is Vautour and Q-Card, a rerunning of that race again. I think Vautour in that race, you remember, he looked very spectacular in front and looked like he was the winner from a long way out. But the stamina tied up a small bit, and I'm just slightly unconvinced to this point in time that Surname can keep it going for the extra 3 furlongs. I know Lost in Translation 100% will.
I think we were saying earlier, actually, when we, so Colin had a little Skype call earlier on, we were saying that back in trip, you could be looking at potentially Surname maybe being touted up for, because I don't think, like you said, I don't think going right-handed is as big an issue as they're making out.
Well, it should be, because obviously Ascot's his track. Ascot's where he's been.
Yeah, he needs to go right-handed.
He needs to go right-handed. Left-handed.
Sorry, left-handed. I mean, I don't think going left-handed would be as big an issue as they're making out. Sorry, that was my point.
Yeah. What?
For
down the line for Cheltenham.
Down the line for Cheltenham, because I just think that he only started improving last year. He only ran at Ascot. So I mean, how can they're saying that that's the reason why Surname has found what 30 pounds of improvement.
But the question is though, is the Ryanair a lucrative enough target?
I wouldn't be going Ryanair. I would say he would be a Champion Chase. The way his style of running, I would be very interested.
Just as well on the last day, do you genuinely think Altior gave his full run over that distance?
No, I think that.
I don't think either.
It's a strange kind of situation. But they've kind of just shelved the whole 3 mile plan now, and he's in the desert orchard. I was reading a Nicky Henderson story again today about that he wasn't right, or he's wrecked tired after it. It just doesn't seem.
No, but just watching it and that, I just didn't think he was the Altior of all. Like, I know he's been hitting them flat spots in the 2 mile, but I don't know. I'd question the race just a slight bit myself.
I'd question whether Altior would be winning another race this season, because you say he's not right, but like I don't know. I just wouldn't be so keen. I think he's a horse probably in the greater scheme of things on decline, Altior, and. I wouldn't be rushing to back him for any race.
It is so hard to be at the top of your game for. He's been at that for so long, so he has to decline at some stage.
Speaking of Altior, Nicky Henderson, we'll move on, lads, to the Christmas Hurdle, where I suppose Henderson has a trio here: Fusel Raffles, Verdana Blue, Epatante, and they all look like they might line up here. Colin, you spoke about Grant Ansey early in the season before Wincanton, and that he said it was a good benchmark. I think he was novice chasing later in the week. This year, if he hasn't already had a run, Grand Sancy. But I would say like Fusel Raffles, he made a horrific mistake down the back. He was actually lucky to not come down that day at Wincanton in the elite. But he's a horse. I think Nicky Henderson's horses, they may not have been firing very early in the season, even though he did get them out on grass, I believe, a bit earlier this year. But I'd be expecting him to come on a lot for the run at Wincanton. What was your thoughts on that, the elite, and going forward?
Well, if you're thinking about him in a champion hurdle context, he 100% needs to start coming on there. I think he's at 152 or give or take over hurdles. Like we all know, that's just not near a mark for a champion hurdler, although we're looking at a kind of a quite unusual champion hurdler. It was probably one of the potentially lowest marked champion hurdlers to come out of this race here, because we were all looking at these horses and nobody, I said to you before, will the real champion hurdler please stick his hand up, because every time I look at a horse...
You thought you had your little Christmas nutcracker ready to go on.
Well, that's fair. So I am a bit upset at the moment, because Elixir the Nuts came back here last week and ran a shit race, and I'm just even more confused about this race at the moment. But now look, a few raffles, I was a bit disappointed up there. I think he was getting £3 off Grand Sancy. He was turning into a bit of a journeyman horse. I know he said he was a solid benchmark now, but he's kept very busy. He ran the Novice's Chase there at San
He's going again on Friday in the Leopardstown horse.
Like a £3 beating by a horse who they're not even sure what they're going to do with is not exactly champion hurdle impending form. I'm casting my eye elsewhere here. I think Epatante getting the mare's allowance is a good bet in this race. Nicky in his pre-season stable tour said that she was a rival at Cheltenham. She got the equine flu jab, said it played absolute fucking shit order with all of his mares, and that he completely forgives that. She showed she was back in good form in Newbury. She won pretty well there by 6 or 7 lengths. Getting £7 allowance, I quite like Epatante here in what is not a very strong renewal of the race. But having said that, I'm not giving up an Elixir Do Nuts yet. I think, he ran bad the last day.
The docket with you.
The docket it's kind of a tear down the middle, but I haven't started the barcode. That's the important part of the slip.
Well, you speak about Epatante. I'll actually come on to Ronan about Epatante next. She's a horse, I think, that race at Newbury, it was a very slow pace early on. They went no gallop. It looked slightly messy, I thought. And she kind of took a while, I think, to pick up it. They're talking about her as a champion hurdle horse. She didn't look to show that turn of foot that she got up 13 pounds, she's 150 now. But I'd be looking for a little bit more now. I'm not so sure I think she's as good as you're making out. And obviously she had the excuse last year,
but she doesn't have to be that good. I said that she might not have to be that good to win this kind of a race. But I'll hand the floor over to Ronan Green here too.
I mean, if you think she is a 150 horse, she gets the £7 allowance, so it puts her in the ballpark already. For this race, not for champion hurdle, but I think the standard's going to be a bit higher. I mean, they talked about her as this machine last year, going to the mares, novices, didn't work out there. She went off 15 to 8, that was ridiculous. Really short price, but that probably goes to show you what the kind of regard that she was held in. She's come back, she's won first time out, and she can improve from that. Look, it's not a great race. I think it's a fair price. I'd have her over for Dan and Blue, the other mare. Obviously won the race last year, big shock. I don't think she'll get her ground. She needs fast ground. First time out as well, first run since the summer. Chitabella was the one I thought was interesting.
Ran a nice race last
time. Ran a nice race in that.
Stealing my thunder.
Are you?
Don't be silly lads. Fuster Raffles is going to win this race.
I'll set you up for it. I just thought he ran a real nice race last in the international hurdle. Monsieur Lecoq ran quite well on Saturday. Unfortunately didn't get it done for myself. But Chitabella was giving away weight there. So first run of the season. And if you look at his last 3 runs now, been really good. Won the county hurdle, then went to Aintree and was 3rd to Super Sunday and Boober there. That's a really good run. And then first run of the season, giving away weight to 160 rated Call Me Lord. Not too bad at all. I could see him running a big race. And I think he's around 8 to 1 mark. I don't think that's the worst value you could find this Christmas, I reckon.
Fair enough.
What do you reckon?
Yeah, no, it's the last run, as you say. Give him the £4. He's only beaten a length and a half in the neck, was it, or something like that? He's less than 2 lengths.
Slow pace and
and as you said, the Kelly horse, Lizzie Kelly horse, I'm sure. Well, actually, the brother Chester, I think, rode it.
Chester Williams, yeah.
Yeah, he rode it on Saturday. Ran well on what looked to be a horse that was very well handicapped beaten.
I mean, if you take Not So Sleepy out,
he's a great
one. He's an impressive winner.
150. 150. You'd probably be looking at him, and I think Not So Sleepy could be that good. We won't go into that now, but you could be looking at Mr. Lecoq. Realistically, being a 160 horse. Now I know Colin Lord bet him the last day, and he's rated 160. But I see what you're saying. The form is.
Yeah, and just as Ronan was saying, his first run he can improve. But definitely at the prices. For Dana Blue, it's the first run since the big money is paid for as well.
Yeah, Tabor. It wasn't a Tabor. Michael Tabor bought him, and I'm presuming
on behalf of his wife.
Yeah,
his wife.
It's
the
Christmas present.
Yeah. I don't know.
He's not wrapped up under the Christmas tree, and then it's pulled straight to Cheltenham or Kempton a few hours.
But of course, we have a couple of Christmas gifts for our listeners midway through the show as well. Speaking of Christmas gifts, but look at Fussell Raffles for me. I think he will improve. I think he's a winner of 3 graded races in his only 3 starts. I think he has the form on the book, and look at the whole 5-year-old. The whole 5-year-old idea. The 5-year-olds can't win the champion hurdle for next year. Esper Allen threw that out the window last year, so I think he's a horse definitely to be on side. We'll move on, lads, to the to Leopardstown and Limerick. We have 2 cracking Grade 1 chases. We also have the Racing Post over 2 miles. Previous winners of the race, Laurishburg. We had Footpad, Duvan, Main have all won this race. Fakir Duderee Lorena is opposing Fakir Duderee here. And we also have the race down in Limerick, the Matchbook. That's over 2 miles and 3 furlongs, where we have possibly Sam Crow lining up against Faheen. Roland, actually, just on this, which of those, I suppose, it looks like 2 jewels here. Fakir versus Lorena and Faheen versus Sam Crow. Out of those 4 horses, races aside, what horse would you be taking forward into the spring? Out of those 4, which one would you take? If I was asking for one. Put you on the spot.
I'll take Lorena, but I want her up and
Good answer.
I want her maybe in the JLT, I'm not sure. That's why I just think she might get done for a bit of pace from Fakir Duderee up front at this stage of the year. With Fakir, it's time to get him now, because he loses that allowance as the season moves on. I think he's even lost a pound of it here.
Well, he runs off levels with Lorena in this.
Yeah,
yes,
of course, sorry, yeah. But in general, getting weight off older horses. So with him, I just think the way he jumped the last day, absolutely superb. He could get under a lot of pressure here. Just one against the 2 of them that I think is worth noting is Notebook.
I knew he was going to say that. That's why I had a little question down the bottom. I said, is there anything else apart from those 4 in the race? Yeah, go on.
Henry the Rumhead with a novice chaser is what you want. You know, he's absolutely top class at getting these 2 mile novices going. And he compared this horse to Special Tiara. Actually, interesting. Recently, we did a piece with him in the paper.
Low rated over hurdles.
Yeah, low rated over hurdles, comes over fences, really improve off in front. You know, the way he won the Craddockstown, which is a race that Henry is often used with, you know, horses that he's brought on to this race. Did it really nicely there. The only thing is, if Fakir Duderee goes off in front, how does that kind of work out? Is it going to turn into an absolute speed fair? Does it set it up for Lorena? I don't know. It's probably not ideal situation, but I do think at 8-1, I think that represents. I think this race is actually going to cut up a bit by the time they declare tomorrow morning, and that 8-1 could be gone. But yeah, I just thought it was worth having a look at.
Fair enough. I'd be completely disagreeing with you about Lorena. I think the faster they go, the better she'll jump. Now, that's my theory on that. Look, we all know I was a mad fan of Lorena last year. Anyone that was watching the podcast coming up towards the champion, she didn't run a race at all. At Gorham Park, Willie obviously comes out and says that she's not short a boot. And Townend said the opposite. He said potentially maybe going up and trip. But I think it does set it up for her. I think she'll the better, as I said, the faster they go, the better she'll jump in my book. I'd have her as an Aracle horse. Thomas, I'll give you this race. You tell me who's going to win it. The Racing Post, 2 miles, and it's on obviously the 26th of December.
Well, I won't be siding with you. That's not the first time. No, I think Fakir Duderee, his jumping's going to put them all to the sword. He actually, if you watch the Drumree back, the horse actually has his mind made up 5-6 strides away from the fence. He's either lengthening into it or he's backed up that he can attack it still. I'd say he's the best feeling ever to ride over a fence when you have a horse like that. But Lorena, if she's going to give him a race, she can't miss a beat. She genuinely can't miss a beat.
No.
They jumped the 2 mile start. They jumped the last as the first one, so it's a good long straight run. He could be up and gone before she knows what's happening, before she's warmed up.
Who wins the Drumree if Sam Crow stands up?
Yeah, it would have been interesting, but saying that, Fakir Duderee, he still didn't stop going down. Like, he wasn't a tired horse finishing.
I thought he was tireder than
Do you think?
I thought he was tired than you might think. I didn't think he hit the line with any great.
As well, now all the pressure was taken off him as well. Like, he knew.
So was that Nelson behind him?
Yeah.
Poor old Ronald Pump was paddling after his mistake down the back.
It would have been an interesting race. It looked like just before I thought Sam Crow was travelling better, alright, and we know he's going to stay from his point-to-point days and that.
I think it's Jack's reaction after the.
Yeah. Well, now I think anyone that was riding is going to get up and hit the ground after.
Well, the question is, like, I was trying to work out what, I didn't see it on the day, but I thought he was at 1-3 and running. Maybe not 1-3, maybe 2-5 or so and running when he pulled alongside there. You could see the energy, the whole crowd was kind of like, he's back, Sam Crow's back. And here it is, because whatever happened in Down Royal, you couldn't really put in a beginner's race, but this was the glorification of this horse's return to the track. He is a superstar, we thought. And then the groan when he fell was just incredible. But look, I think with regards to Factory there, he's clearly the best jumper, definitely the best novice jumper of a fence out there, UK and Ireland combined. I wouldn't even put it beyond the Ben's possibility he's the best jumper, all horses, maybe himself and lost in translation. I do think though that he will get out-engined at some point in time by one of these good horses that just will pull in a clear round at some point in time. They all seem to be just making various mistakes at Bristol, and that gives him his shot in. But Sam Crow was galloping all over him, and I think he needs these mistakes to happen. Now, a couple of things I'll say. I'm disappointed Grant Pump is not taking an entry in 90 races. I noticed he was a conspicuous absence because he made nearly all of his mistakes in the back straight at Ferryhouse last day. And we might all remember that they actually pulled the back straight for the very next handicap chase. After that, they said these fences are unsafe to jump. So I'd like to have seen him in it again. I thought he would have been an interesting ingredient.
He's in the Pretense qualifier.
Which is a hurdle, is it?
Yeah.
Which is I'd love to know. I'd love to hear. Yeah, I'd love to hear what the thoughts are behind putting him into a hurdle race now all of a sudden. But
probably win a race and back over fences. No, would that be? Because if he wins this street, he's not going to be well handicapped. You know.
My view is that I think Lorena might just put in a clear enough round to out-engine Fakir Dudery in this instance, and that's who I'd be giving my verdict for in this race.
Lorena, Machine.
Sorry, yeah, I'm with you now.
Okay, so just down to, obviously that I was going to say Cork, down to Limerick. Sam Crow, I think he would have beaten Fakir Dudery. I think he was coming there on the absolute snaff. And Andrew Blair White, actually, who we've a message from Andrew, the Grinch that stole Christmas, didn't come down today. They didn't let him out of the pale for this one.
Good evening, all Champ.ie subscribers and listeners. Andrew Blair White here from the Blair White blog. Very sorry I couldn't make it to the Christmas special this evening in Leopardstown. The lads putting on a brilliant show for you guys, and I was asked to supply a few of my best tips for the Christmas period. So I've got three, one from Kempton and two from Leopardstown. So over in Kempton, the Christmas hurdle on St. Stephen's Day, I really like Quick Grab 'em at an each way price of 16-1, formerly trained by Willie Mullins, now with Fergal O'Brien. I think he's the unknown quantity in the race and think he could go well. And two for Leopardstown in the Paddy Power Chase on the 27th. Whisper in the Breeze at 16-1, I think is solid each way credentials. He's a solid handicapper. He won a big handicap at Leopardstown last year and think he could go close. And Penn Hill at 8-1 in the Stayers hurdle on the 28th of December. I think he'll come on leaps and bounds from his run in the Hatton's Grace hurdle, and it wouldn't surprise me if he was bang there. So hopefully three big price winners, and if one or two of them come in, we can have a really good Christmas. I hope you guys all have a very good Christmas. From me, Andrew Blair White, and back to the lads in the Christmas special
for this one. But he was in agreement with myself. He thought Sam Crow was coming there to win. They're both rated 160. Sorry, Sam Crow's 160, and so is Faheen over hurdles. That's obviously Faheen was near enough to 170 at one point in time. But going into this 2 mile 3 matchbook chase, Colin, I'll actually come to you on this. What's your thoughts?
For some part, I want Sam Crow to beat him. Everything's viewed through the prism of Cheltenham, and I just know Faheen won't win at Cheltenham. I just think the warm temperatures, the spring fast rain, you've seen what's happened to him in recent spring parts of the season before, where he just hasn't finished his races. I think Sam Crow should win this. There will be a slight degree of unease now looking at him as a horse jumping fences. The horse doesn't really know that about himself. He does view these as new targets again. And I said the last day, it was a tricky day. You have to remember, it was a very low sun that day at Ferryhouse. There were shadows all over the place. Now, the fence that he actually did fall at was the one that he actually got a full view. The sun was behind him, so he actually had no excuses in that one fence. But look, he was galloping all over Fakir Dudery's that day. Yeah, Faheen, he won his beginner's chase in Punchtown fairly impressively. He made a fat clanger of a mistake himself that day as well, going up the hill. It could be very possible that both these horses make an absolute hames of this, and we could go for somebody outside top two. But I hope and I think Sam Crow should be getting the better of him in Limerick.
I think so. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Don't sound so convinced. You sound like
Faheen. I mean,
Was that sentimental, or is that you like following based on what it is?
Both, yeah.
Alright. Okay.
I think. You look at that mistake he made at Punchestown and the way he still won.
Yeah.
It's quite impressive. And
Do you reckon they just rediscovered this horse's penchant for racing all over again by just throwing the new obstacle in front of him, or is he? It's just the heavier ground, the colder temperature this time of the year doesn't put the old man under pressure, and he can do the business.
I'm not sure about the temperature thing. He did win a champion.
Well, that's true. But I was saying,
I was at Cheltenham that day. It was quite warm. I love the move to go novice chasing him, and he has to come in for a bit of criticism.
You have been quiet about that. I
think it's ridiculous. Anyone who says something about welfare or something about that, what an opportunity Faheen has to go. He wouldn't have done anything this year in the Grade 1 hurdles over 3 miles or 2 miles. What an opportunity! He can race against novices now. He can win races. He could win this Grade 1. He's won. Remember, he won this Grade 1. That's what his 3 mile hurdle down in Limerick. But that's when they thought he was going to be a Gold Cup horse. So look, I think it's going to be a brilliant race. I think Sam Crowe is probably he is favourite, isn't he? He's pretty solid at the top of the market. Whether there's any value there, I don't know. One I just mentioned as well. I don't know if you had one lined up here. I had a bigger prize. Is Castlebrook, who's for Junior Manor. They've always thought a lot of that horse, I'm pretty sure. Runs in the Potts colours. He ran a big race last time he was actually against Get-a-Bird, yeah. 2 second season chasers and Paloma Blue. He's a novice still, that was only his 3rd run. I think that was a big run for a horse having just his 2nd run even actually. Jimmy Mangan says he needs 3 miles in soft ground, but he wants to come here for the heavier ground.
Yeah.
I would have, the way he's talking, I wouldn't have minded him going up to Leopardstown for the 3 mile race, but he thinks the heavy ground at Limerick 2-3 will be enough of a test of him. He's 14-1.
It was heavy ground at Gorn, of course.
Yeah, and that was 2.5, I think.
2.5.
Look, you could shake them up a bit. I think 14-1 is quite a big price if you wanted an alternative to the front 2. But looking forward to a good race.
Fair enough. No opinion on the race really, to be honest. I just think Lorena is going to win the race in post.
You reckon Lorena's the best of all those novice chasers?
I think she's good. I think she was always going to improve over fences as well, and I think 2 miles will be her trip this year, and she could go up maybe after that. Okay, return to Chacon Poursois. We're moving on obviously now to the 27th of December. It's the 110 and it's the 2 mile 1 furlong Grade 1 at Leopardstown. Listen, as any horse, I suppose, that comes into a Grade 1, wins it after only winning, I suppose, a beginner's chase at Naas. Now he won that quite well, but it was a serious performance with the Arkle and JLT winners in behind. Now Jude Genevra, I don't know what your thoughts are on how he's developed this year. We probably might see a better horse later on in the season. He developed as the year went on last year, but Chacon Poursois, he's been fragile. They've made that known. Obviously 2 years, they had him for 2 years before they even ran him, but he's going to be short for this. But what is he now? Is he 4-1 now for the Queen Mother Champion Chase?
Nice short, I think. Yeah.
No,
he's 4-1. He's 4-1, yeah, with bet excess. So.
Was that
What's your thoughts? Would there be anything in here against them for this race, and thoughts on him going forward running?
Yeah, going forward, I kind of wanted to not take him on, but I was just sceptical of him actually getting to Cheltenham. Bearing in mind he said he's a fragile record, but obviously if he shows up at Leopardstown, you have to take him at face value, and that's, he's beat Defi Decided fair and square. Yeah, that's pretty rock solid form.
And he never runs a bad race, really, to be fair.
Yeah, you see what Defi Decided has done this year. He looks a real top class horse. Beat Undeso. That's really good form. I think this race cuts up something shocking. There could be 5-6 runners here, and the one I'd be interested in is Absolute Hard. I just thought he obviously needs to go left-handed. He probably needs 2.5 miles, but why not give him a crack here at 2 miles? This race is going to be something like a 5-6 runner race. See where you're at, see if he could go for the championships. He did show so much pace when he won at Cheltenham. Yeah. He's sprinted away from that Close Brothers field. Ran okay first time up at Nav, and Hardline's given that form a decent boost with his run in the John Durkin. I'd be inclined to hope that he has a go. I know Henry was looking for a 2.5 mile race. He has to go left-handed. He reckons he's a 20 pounds better horse going left-handed. Give him a crack here. He has race fitness on side. I think he's around 12-1 now. He won't be that when the declarations come in, but he still could be a nice price at that point, and I'd give him a decent shout. Yeah.
Fair enough. You'd never take one at that price, anyway. But Shaq and Poursois, but he surely disposes of these, does he?
Yeah, just the one other horse, Willie's other horse, that's Silas Emery.
Will you go for this actually, Silas?
I'm not sure. Does he? Yeah, he is. The fact he's 5-1, I think, suggests he might run.
But there was money for him as well.
Yeah, well, they're separate owners, of course, and each owner will be dictating to Willie what they. Not saying they dictate to Willie, but they will tell him, "Can we have a Christmas runner, please?"
He's not actually entered anywhere else, Silas Emery, only this race.
Yeah. And just on his win, Ballyosheen, you're taking a Plutard. Ballyosheen won that race in Navan as well. Plutard actually got £9 off him, got a bit of a hammering. Yeah. Where Silas Emery the last day in Cork, he got 3. And he beat Ballyosheen. Now I know it ended up being a duel basically up the straight, but he still battled with 7 lengths.
Yeah.
He's a good horse. He's had that run where Chacon Poursois hasn't run since Punchestown. Just maybe the benefit of that run might go. He seems a good jumper as well. Obviously Townend ride him. I think Danny Mullins actually won on Silas Emery in Cork the last day, because wasn't the Punchestown was on the same day, so I imagine Danny will be back in for the ride. I wouldn't be one for backing at odds on horses, so I might take a chance with him.
Fair enough. We're nearly finished part 1, but we are going to move on to the future novice hurdle on the 27th, which is the 145. Thomas, you might like Silas Emery, but I know you love this horse, Abracadabras. Winners of this race in the past, Aramon, we had Sizen John, Tullatank and Jeski have all won this race. Abracadabras, look, he sets the standard now, doesn't he? With Envoy Allen, I suppose, not going, well, I think they're stepping him up and trip for the Lawlers at Naas, which maybe indicates he's going to go maybe for the Ballymore. That leaves Abracadabras clear favourite now. I think he's 6-1 for the Supreme Novice. I'm still looking for excuses after the last day to see why he might have beaten Envoy Allen. I'm struggling to find a few. He didn't have the clearest to run.
No, and he left his hind legs in the third last before he turned in as well. It cost him maybe a length and a half, but it did check his momentum for a slight second. For me, he wins this race. The track's going to suit him, more flat track. He's all about speed, jumps well. Obviously, Envoy Allen is the horse that everything runs around. Even Blue Sari was second to him in the champion bumper. But for me, Abracadabras, I think this is where he's going to stamp his authority on this.
I think so.
This level.
Yeah. Like he has the hurdle for now in the book. And if you look back at the race we were talking about with Not So Sleepy, Turnpike Trip, who was fourth in the race. He was well gambled on, and I think he's only something like 4 or 5 lengths behind Envoy Allen. Look, it just looks rock solid form over hurdles. Luceri, he didn't take my eye on him. I was a big fan of him last year on bumpers. Didn't take the eye out of my head now, certainly on his maiden win at it was Punchestown.
Yeah, just give a voucher because I think they went quite slow that day. It didn't really help his jumping, and it was interesting they're coming back to 2 miles now. But Abracadabras has achieved a lot more than he has, so deserves to be the price he is. Just get a quick shout for Easy Work. Remember we talked about it. Only a maiden hurdle winner, but he did it quite well and did it in a good time. A faster time. I think that was the same day Franco Deport won, who we mentioned on the podcast as well.
Yeah.
He's running at Limerick later in the week in the 4-year-olds hurdle. I think he'll go well, and Easy Work did a much better time than him, carrying a lot more weight.
Just wondering would Gordon run the 2 against him or?
Yeah, I think it's like a grade 1. He'll often be double-handed, you know.
Yeah.
Obviously, always wait for declarations to have a look. They priced the race up now, but there won't be much in the market. Just thought he was interesting as a possible outsider, but I think Abracadabras is rock solid. Yeah.
Colin?
I'd like to see Mullins Yards horses being backed in the early stages of an anti-post market in the week of the race, and I know that this Blue Starry has been backed now for this race. That gives me the inclination that I think that he's much better of a horse than what he showed in his reappearance at Punchestown. He's already beaten Abracadabras in the champion bumper last season. Willie Mullins as a yard tends to start to come alive around this time of the year. He's not really, Gordon can come out firing. If you look at the champions trainer, Gordon always builds up massively, but Willie just starts to get firing around now. And this money for this Blue Star Re just makes me feel like that he's better than he was. I think the condensed trip, faster pace, will make him a much kind of straightforward ride. I believe he's kind of a difficult enough ride. And with Abracadabras being odds on, the race might break up a small bit more, which you could end up leaving Abracadabras at 1-2 and his horse 2-1. It wouldn't be the worst bet in the world to have an each way bet if you have, like I'd sacrifice 100 each way at 2-1 and getting 150 back, knowing that I've had a free chance of getting the win versus Abracadabras. That's the way that I like to bet. But I don't know, I wanted to be in the Abracadabras camp, and I think if you look back at the again, referring to the in-play betting for that race versus Envoy, I think he actually trumped him for favouritism. He pulled up alongside him at one stage there, and then Envoy kind of kicked again from the last back to the finish line again.
It was after the second last, when Jack sat back up, I hit you a thump in the side.
Exactly, because you were
said, here we go now, here we go.
I remember because he actually arrived on track in the middle of that running, and next thing he arrived beside me, next thing his elbow starts digging me in the side of the back.
He's back in the snap.
And this man here, kind of, I think he either went through the bookies ring and had a bet in Abracadabras and was kind of here chasing him home, but he did travel like an incredibly good horse that day, and that Envoy is the second coming of Jesus. Apt description given the
You're the second coming of Jesus Christ on the tipping front.
Well,
Cornerstone lad, 25-1 to fight.
Each to our own.
We're looking for Christmas miracles.
But it's an interesting way. My brain says to me I should typically be going for a horse like Abracadabras in this race, but I'm just now starting to know that this Willie Mullins backing the early week anti-post on the week of the race says to me that this horse might be better than he was at Punchtown. So it's tough one, but I might go Blue Starry.
To my mind, I've went with a couple of favourites here. In fairness, wouldn't really be my style generally, but I do think Abracadabras is going to take a lot of stopping here.
You side with the Meath man.
Yeah, no, I think so, Tom. We'll come to the car horse later on. But, no, listen, I think he made a mistake. I think it was at the third last. Did you mention it, Abracadabras? I think a strongly run 2 miles is really going to suit him. He's going to get that here. Softer ground. I don't know. I was at the impression.
But if the ground's actually not going to be too bad. It's yielding to soft at the minute, and we haven't had any rain. So, Leopardstown at Christmas isn't the worst. It's not like Limerick.
Let's hope he doesn't do what he done the last time he was at Leopardstown anyway. Let's come out to the rain. Listen, that's it for part 1 of the Champ.ie Christmas special podcast. Tom will have logs on the fire when we come back, and we look forward to the Paddy Power Grade B chase on the 27th of December.